Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Deconstructing with Melody. I'm your host, Melody, a certified functional medicine, health, and wellness coach. Today, we are going to be deconstructing awareness and its effects on lifestyle change. Our guest today is an optimistic, holistic health and lifestyle coach whose spirit is grounded in the ambition to help others and simply love. Her healing journey began at the start of 2018 at just 25 years old. And from her outside world, her life seemed to be the epitome of happy and successful. She had a budding career in politics, she was making great money, the nice car and apartment, all the friends. She was totally driven to cross everything off the checklist of success, just as she was taught. However, she literally never had control over her health. Then some new information caused a severely intense awareness shift that changed everything for her. From there, she began to investigate her own reality and pursue the highest version of herself. Now, at 29 years old and the healthiest she has ever felt in her entire life, she is more aware and connected with spirit every day. She is blessed to now share her healing journey while compassionately connecting with others to assist them in creating a space for their own healing. Let's welcome holistic health and lifestyle coach, Haley Johnson. Hey, everybody. Welcome. We're so happy that Haley is here to join us. She has such an inspiring story, and I'm so thankful to be in this space with her. I know that all of you are too. So, Haley, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, of course. I'm so excited to be here with everyone.
Yes, we're happy that you're here too. So, why don't we get started? The first question that I wanted to ask you, because I'm always curious about everyone's individual stories of healing, how it looked for them. So, if you would like to share a little bit about your healing story, like how you were before, when you became like, when you took your first steps into healing, and how you look now. I know that's kind of like a compacted question, but feel free to just share away.
Yes, definitely. So I have been going through my health journey for a few years now. I began in 2018. I had just turned 25, and from the looks of it, like my life looked put together. I had the job, I went to school for this job and I was making great money. I had the car, I had the apartment. From the looks of it, everything said success. I should have been happy. But the truth was that my health was just out of control. From a really young age, I struggled with my weight. And so it was just always something I felt a lot of embarrassment and shame around. And then at the point where I was 25, it was like I couldn't even sleep through the night because I was having such horrible back pain. And I had such incredible amounts of stress that my health overall was just like so poor for being so young. And so, yeah, I just kind of started putting my focus and intentions and manifestations, I guess, toward something greater. And then actually at that time, I met my husband, Marcel. And I had been manifesting meeting the man for my life. And I run into him at a yoga studio, and yeah, he had already just been on this incredible holistic healing journey. And so I got to see just an example of how to live a little bit healthier. One of the suggestions that he made to me simply was just checking out new information. And so he suggested that I watch a few documentaries and read a couple of books. And as I started to do this, I was just like really shocked by the information that I was presented with, because it was just it was the complete opposite of what I had learned, what I had been taught for so long, what everyone was living by. And I just felt like that just struck me so hard to my core. It hit me right in the spirit. Like
Mhm.
all of a sudden, all this new information started to make me feel actually really uncomfortable, because they call it cognitive dissonance when you're presented with two ideas. One of the ideas is, yours that you're naturally, habitually thinking about. And then the other idea is something new, but you're feeling this discomfort because the something new is the true information, right? So it
Yeah.
causes you to completely relearn
Mhm.
and forego what you've known for so long. And so I just started experiencing this repeatedly. Um, and then that made me shift a lot of things in my life, for my health, for the earth, for everyone, for, yeah, just to be aligned. And yeah, it just, once I found this new information, my awareness perspective completely changed. And I could only create my new life from this new awareness. Like there was no going back after that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, here I am
Yeah.
now. I'm sorry, I don't know if you want to ask a question there. And
Oh, no, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's beautiful. I so resonate with your story as I've embarked upon my own journeys into understanding. And I thank you for sharing how you felt in that you felt uncomfortable with the information that you were learning because it was new and it was different. And I think so many of us, I know for me, we are afraid of the unknown. We are comfortable with what we know and we are afraid of the unknown. And to be able to live a life different than the way we've lived it, it has to be unknown, right?
yes.
And so it is about taking that first step into that unknown. And you said that, you met your husband, Marcel, and that you had been manifesting and having those intentions. And he came and he had some journey that really impacted you. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely. His diet and lifestyle, I was just really unfamiliar with, honestly, because it's not the normal
Yeah.
way of living. It's, when you begin a holistic journey, it really is shifting a lot of the norm,
Yeah.
right? Shifting a lot of the norm into aligning with yourself, aligning
Mhm.
with what's right for you, aligning with what feels right, what resonates within your being, and we're not taught that, I don't think,
Mhm.
as much, in schools and things. We're taught to go to school and, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, so
Yeah. Well, I love that, as you were on this journey, you found somebody and then together you were able to learn and how important that was within your awakening journey. Um,
yes, definitely.
yeah, that community aspect I think is huge when we are with other people and that can challenge us, but I almost don't like that word challenge. That sounds so, I mean, we think challenge is like so harsh, but that can encourage us or show us a new way, right? This whole
Mhm.
show us a new way. And I think I know that's why I do group coaching, because it's so important that we all are able to take perspectives from others and see how they're growing and learning and how it can impact us. So how cool that that kind of navigated a little bit with you in your journey.
Yeah, definitely. I think having someone that helped me along the way actually really got me to where I am now. I don't think I could have done it without the help. So for anyone who is thinking about reaching out for coaching or anything like that, I encourage it because,
Yep.
having someone that can be compassionate and loving and objective and keep you accountable to the goals you make, and, it's huge. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. I agree. So, Haley, when you said like before, your health was out of control,
Mm.
what do you want to touch a little bit on that? Because I know that as me, I
Sure.
felt very similar. And I'd love to hear you break down a little bit of what that out of control is. And then how alignment now is looking for you.
Yeah. Out of control. It's funny because it spanned for so many years,
Yeah.
right? I grew up in a very loving, normal, American home. Um, we, I, but I really noticed I started to struggle with my weight when I was about 11.
Mm-hmm.
From the consumption of a poor diet or just the regular normal food that was available. And then really for years, like 10, 11, 12, gosh, and then when I was a teenager as well, hormonal imbalance and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't know if this is too much information, but I was on a birth control as well when I was about 17, 18, 19, that extremely had an impact on my weight, where I gained another 30 pounds after already being overweight. But because the doctors were just like, oh, well, that's normal for the birth control, I kind of just accepted it and moved on with my life. And, you know, um, it was a harsh reality that I was just willing to go through with, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, I also had like severe food addictions. Food addiction is a hard thing to talk about because it's much more common than I think people realize. Like for me, I would constantly think about when my next meal was. I was constantly like planning what was for the meal. When it wasn't mealtime, I was just thinking about the next one. And the meal that I did have was always over too soon. I was just searching for like the comforting feeling of good flavors and, you know,
Yeah.
it was mindless. It was mindless. I wasn't aware of what the food was actually doing to my body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so just over time, I really had no health management. I worked out all the time. I grew up playing soccer my entire life, never missed a season. And then in college, I worked out constantly, went to the gym. Like I actually hurt myself in the gym, but kept going and just, wanted to try to manage it, try to manage it. I did every fad diet you could think of, like every single thing on the market, I swear. Um, but yeah, it just never was able to control it. And then uh, I made a change after I saw this information that has changed everything since. And now I no longer have food addictions whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the impact of food on my body, my system is so clear and I'm so in tune with my system. I know exactly what I need always. I know like if I eat something that I wasn't supposed to, and maybe I'm unaware, I'll know soon enough because I get sick. Since, I feel worse in some way
Yeah.
very quickly after I consume something that I wasn't meant to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just the alignment that I have with my spirit and understanding what my body needs is like, man, a world of difference. I would never like change it for anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, food addiction is a very it's just everywhere. I was thinking of a specific word and it didn't come to me, but it's everywhere. And it also doesn't matter what size you are. So
No,
from the physical eye, it doesn't matter what size you are. Food addiction comes in
totally.
all shapes and sizes. And I think all too much, a lot of people are like, they don't struggle with anything. And I'm like, actually, I do. I do struggle with
Mhm.
things, and I can relate to so much of what you're saying. Um, so thank you for sharing that. And when you said when you found this information, and you became aware and you just never looked back, what was the key takeaway of what information that you had found that really
Um,
just sat with your spirit?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. If I may be frank here, it's almost like I circled around saying it at first because, in my experience, it's information people have a hard time with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I often like, anyways, to get to the point, the new information was just actually how eating plant-based
Mm-hmm.
was going to serve me the best. The difference between eating food that is meant for my body and food that is not meant for my body. Um, Also, it brings in awareness in itself
Mm-hmm.
with food, because awareness for me is based in, the ancient traditions of awareness, where it's the universal consciousness. Being aware is being conscious of the spirit within you and the spirit within everything around you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Being conscious of the oneness within all. Um, Aware that the light within you resides in me, resides in all things, and that we need to honor the light and we need to cherish all beings and love all beings. And it goes back to the being plant-based, if I'm aware that, you know, I am this light being, then that means that these are also light beings that I don't think are here for me to consume. Um, and then as well, it comes down to raising your own spirit. When you consume living food, plants are living, when you consume living food, it raises your vibration. It makes you feel more vibrant. It makes, your overall vitality increase. It Plants literally, we're so connected with plants
Yeah.
in so many ways that, man, there's, one of my favorite books, actually, it's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit difficult to read, but it's called The Secret Lives of Plants. And it basically details the scientific experiments that prove plant sentience, which is just that plants can communicate with us the same as we can, well, not the same as we communicate, right? But, through energy, everything is energy. There's all kinds of energetic communication. And I found that because I'm consuming food that is high in energy, the ability that I have to connect with everything around me is so
Mm-hmm.
much greater every day, because I'm making sure my body is filled with living food that is for me. If,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
so to answer your question. I sorry that was kind of long. The new information um, that I had been running from for so long was really just that, I think we are supposed to be plant-based.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that and for pushing through that uncomfortability there a little bit to share, because
Yeah.
I mean, you're safe in this space, and there's going to be so many different, I know as our audience, there's so many different people. And I truly believe in BioIndividuality. Like, we all have our own bodies. And when we learn to know what our bodies need, we learn how we can provide for it. And I feel that when we connect to that river of energy, that we will all, just get to that place where we can hear and care for our bodies in the way that it's needed. But how beautiful that journey is different for everyone. And as we become more aware and in tune to what we need, we can hear from different needs. And so it sounds like this is kind of your alignment for you. And I love that. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing. I know that our audience members as well will feel very connected to being plant-based. I know we have vegans and all different avenues of life when it comes to nutrition. I always
Yes.
try to shy away from that word diet, because it's all about nutrition and how we can provide nutrition for our souls and our body. So you shared a little bit about kind of, before, when you were thinking of your next meal and constantly just feeling in need, and to now. And so I know that as I relate to hearing from my body, it took me a kind of like a chaotic situation to be able to start like understanding my body responds to foods. So you were sharing a
Mm.
little bit about how your body was responding to certain things, and you're like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have eaten that because my body signals me. Do you feel like in the beginning, like before you were in tune with your body, like that you heard the signaling that your body was trying to tell you, or that you ignored it, or like how does it like sound or feel to you when you're hearing that alignment of what you need?
Mm. So before, honestly, just even now, if I compare the way my body used to feel and the way my body feels now,
Mhm.
the way my body used to feel didn't feel right. And now thinking back on how it felt, I know it didn't feel right. And my body was telling me that, but I literally did not know, like was unaware of how to fix it. And then I think I also just had all these fears surrounding what was happening to my body because,
Mhm.
it wasn't, to simply put, I wasn't skinny and I wasn't the ideal image of a woman that they put in the magazines and whatever. So I think I just had fear in something being wrong with me.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, something's wrong with me because this and this. And so instead of meeting those feelings that like, oh, something's wrong here, I should, you know, I was kind of stuck in this spinning of, okay, I'm fine. This is normal. I see other people, have a little weight too. So I'm, maybe nothing's wrong with me. Maybe what I'm experiencing is normal. And I just, but it's crazy to be on the other side of that and understand that I wasn't normal.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I so
Yeah,
yeah. Mm.
I agree. I think that it's like when you look back, you're just like, oh, I like never want to go back to that place of how I treated my body. But you also
Mm.
want to have compassion on yourself because you only knew what you knew. And I keep
Yes.
reminding myself that I made decisions out of what I knew until I knew something different. And now
Mm.
I'm making decisions in that realm. And I think we're always growing and expanding. So, um,
Definitely.
yeah. So you're living this different life, this new life, with food and, just with yourself, it sounds like spirit wise and just your whole connection. So, how have boundaries? I'm so curious about this because when you step into, my brain went to like a new body, but that's kind of how it feels as you step into
Oh my gosh.
this new body, this new river, this new life, that you have to have boundaries for yourself to, because I think going back, but also with people from your past, also with people from
Mm.
the present, like how have
Mm.
boundaries played a role in your life?
Gosh. So I used to be the people pleaser, say yes to everything that was asked of me
Mhm.
because I wanted to be the nice, kind person. I wanted to be thought of in a light way. Whenever anybody had to think about me, I wanted to be like, oh, yeah, she's great. Right.
Yeah.
And then I get to this point where I'm like, okay, start seeing this new information, start feeling different. And then I realized like my energy too was such a huge part of my health. uh, it was like difficult at first because when I was going through this big change, I was trying to explain it to people that were close to me,
Yeah.
but they just couldn't see me. They didn't quite understand. Again, plant based and the information I talk about or what was leading me and how if you say spirit is leading me, sometimes people have that's can
Yeah.
be interpreted in different ways.
Yeah.
it was like they just didn't get it. So for a while in the beginning, I kind of had to set up new boundaries and just say, okay, if these interactions I'm realizing are tearing me down, or I'm walking away from them feeling less than uplifted, I'm gonna need to shut that off.
Yeah.
To be honest, even for a time with my family, I wasn't talking to my family as much because I couldn't like my energy couldn't take the rise and fall with the conversations and things. So yeah, it took some time. And it was all in love for myself, love for them. It wasn't, there was no upset, right? It was just, you go through shifts. And yeah, it's funny. Sometimes people even say now, like, oh, remember when you were like this, or remember back in the day and you were this person. And I'm like, gosh, I do remember that, but it's, I feel like I'm in such a better place now. And that doesn't resonate as like something I want to be now, and so that's kind of been interesting with, the people I surround myself with, the conversations I have definitely shifted a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, even with myself, boundaries, especially when trying to control addictions, I completely had to change my mind and the habitual thoughts I was having and the habitual feelings. And I would force myself to have to pause. Like if I had that thought, like, oh, I'm hungry, I could eat something. And I'm like, okay, do you really need to eat right now? Or are you bored? Or are you just trying to fill this needy feeling that's coming up? What is this that's going on? Like taking the time to pause was a huge boundary for me because I was just going. I was just going in this direction. There was nothing changing that. And then the only thing that could change it was me forcing the difference. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I agree. And I love what you said was taking that time to just pause. I think especially just in our cultures and just where we live, it's just busy. I think we just get more busy, especially with all the tech, with everything. We just get so busy and stressed, and we need more, we got to work harder to make more money. We got to, and it's so rare to be able to pause and check in with ourselves. So I hear when you say like that's kind of what you started doing, was pausing and checking in, like, what do I need? Why do I need this? And having that conversation with yourself. I know that I resonate with that. I do that as well. That's allowing your body and mind to speak and communicate together. And I think that is such
Yes.
a beautiful, powerful, superpower that we have, that is just a remarkable thing that we are born with. And so when we talk a little bit about taking a pause, I think about like awareness techniques. And do you have any like techniques that you love or that you utilize, that you want to share with us as the audience, that we can use on our own when we're, embarking upon our own journeys?
Yes. I'd say one of the greatest techniques when I made this switch with my nutrition, I also began a yoga and meditation journey. Um, it was like I felt that was the time I could align with myself. I could connect my mind to my body, to every piece of my body, go through all of it, check to see what is needed, what hurts, what doesn't, analyze where I feel better than before, analyze where I'm experiencing pain, and, breathing through that pain. And if there's too much pain, it's such a journey with yoga, especially with awareness of the body. It's amazing on the journey I've had with yoga, the things that my body is capable of now that it was never able to do before. Is just, yeah, now because I've used yoga as a technique for the last few years. It's like I can't go a couple days without it. So yeah, that's one of the techniques I would recommend as well. I guess that's a really simple one is reading. If you're a reader, I love to read. Um, I found a lot of great information, comforting information on this journey in a lot of books. It's awesome to find out that other people are experiencing this stuff too. And there's other stories out there that you can relate to. Yeah. And then, I also wanted to mention a technique that is thought of in a lot of different ways. Fasting is a awareness technique that I realized is an actual awareness technique. It can be used for many other reasons. But for example, on my journey, when I was trying to figure out what these foods were doing to my body, it was like I would fast from a specific thing for a couple weeks to see what my body did, if it was a positive or negative response to stopping that. A huge example for me was actually gluten, wheat. I had no idea ever that it was a problem for me until I tried a fasting experiment where I just stopped eating wheat for 2 weeks. The difference I saw, the difference I felt, it was unreal. And then just to draw the experiment to a conclusion, I started eating wheat again for a couple of days and immediately noticed the difference in my system and how poor it was. And so that's a technique that you can use in a lot of different ways. Fasting, not even just from food, but maybe fasting from like this game you play all day, or fasting from social media for a few days, see how you feel, there's a lot of different ways you can fast to bring yourself into different awareness spaces. So that's a really good one.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you brought that up, because that really does help with the awareness of yourself. I always hear, like, almost always success stories when people fast from social media or a food and they're like, oh, and then I learned this, and this is how my body responds. Like when I eat this, or when I didn't have it, I was low energy. When I ate it, I'm high energy. And when I got rid of it, I was way better energy, like all the different, things that they have. And so I love that you mentioned that as an awareness technique, because it's a big reminder to me that and I'm a huge proponent of, we have the tools that we need, these free tools that we can use for our own selves.
Absolutely.
And they're free, So thank you for sharing that with us in the audience, because I just love that as a good reminder. And if anyone in the audience is curious about that, I really encourage you to, research it, look into that, and find support. Find a best friend that wants to do it with you, or that can help you by just being there to listen, or connect with Haley or connect with me. And I know that we would love to hear your story too. So
definitely.
Yeah. So this has been so uplifting and so helpful. Is there anything else that you'd love to add to this conversation, Haley? Anything on your mind that you feel you want to share?
I would say, if I could give any advice, just don't be afraid to listen to your spirit when it does speak up. It'll speak up in a number of ways, and just don't be afraid to listen and then act based on what you learn at that time when you're listening. Because I think only good things will come from when you listen, because everything you need is within. So
Yes, I agree. And I think that was something that I had a mentor tell me once, like, just start listening and start doing what it's saying. And if that voice is leading you down dark paths, then be familiar with that, and then try a different one. And it brought me this place of like acceptance, to just trust myself and learn to be okay. And I felt like I always went in the positive direction, because when you feel like that inner voice, you're just, so great advice when hearing that inner voice, to respond and to see where it takes you, because you never know.
Yes,
Yeah. Thank you, Haley, for sharing this with us. So if anyone's feeling like they resonate with you and want to connect with you, I will have your contact information in the show notes. But did you want to share kind of where you're at and what you're doing?
Sure. I am actually very excited. I'm currently developing my services on a website so that it can go live probably right about the new year that's coming. Um, so yeah, I'd absolutely love to connect with anyone now. They can reach out to me on any of the social media platforms. Yeah, so let me know. Things are
Great.
happening. Yeah.
Yes, I know. So exciting for you. And I know that you're already doing wonderful things for yourself. And I know that impacts our world greatly, as well as being here in this space. So thank you. And I will continue to update the show notes as you launch your website and business. And we'll just keep that flowing. And so that people, if they listen, a year from now, can connect with you. So
Thank you so much.
wonderful. You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here, Haley.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If this episode encouraged you or supported you along your journey, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel because we have so many wonderful and free tools just for you.